Okay, so good afternoon, and my name is Shazia Khan, and this is the Legal Methods Unit, and we are looking at the final session today, which is on the assignment guidance. So last week we looked at things like issues of mooting. What was the importance? Yeah, what mooting was, what is a bundle in mooting. We looked at the moot court. We looked at preparing to present your moot, the structure of a moot, and researching your mooting tips from other students. And we also looked at the importance of a bundle, analysis of a case study we looked at, and we looked at the issue of why a moot is so important in studying. And why do you think, when we look at moots, why do you think they're so important?
Because they help law students prepare for the actual course.
Yeah, for a student, it's very important, so it can prepare them if they want to become a barrister or solicitor. It prepares them for court. So today's session is on the assignment guidance. Okay, so we'll go through that. Firstly, the scenario that you will get, and all this is available on Moodle for you as well. So you are employed in a law firm and have been asked to prepare notes on the law and legal system in the UK for a talk that one of the partners has been asked to give prospective law students. You should include relevant legislation and cases to illustrate your points where appropriate. You need to produce a file of notes for the lecture. In the file, you must distinguish between primary, secondary, and delegated legislation. So that's AC 1.1. So learning outcome 1. You need to demonstrate their knowledge of how the law and the court systems operate. You need to show an understanding of the different sources of legislation and how legislation and case law are applied in court. You should look at the issue of separation of powers and how secondary legislation may be a departure from this principle. And you need to refer to slides of learning outcome 1 from slides 22 to 25, okay? Approximately 200 words. A table would be ideal here. Then you need to look at explaining the hierarchy within statutory sources and the case law, AC 1.2. You should explain the different courts and their structure, drawing the distinction between civil and criminal court hierarchies and the legal roles of personnel within civil and criminal courts. You need to use this slide 28 to explain the different court structures. Can you see that slide? That comes in a lot of the units that we've done, and it identifies the different types of courts. So, you know, the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, High Court, the Empowerment Court. You need to look at them, okay? Then AC 1.3, you need to explain the impact of the Human Rights Act, AC 1.3, and you need to refer to the handout 1.3 Human Rights Act and summarize this in 50 to 70 words, covering the various articles and its relevance. Here you need to cover what is human rights, 20 words, what is Human Rights Act, 20 to 30 words, mention the different articles 2 to Article 14 of the HRA, which is the Human Rights Act. Then you need to illustrate the operation of literal, golden, and purposive approaches of statutory interpretation. AC 2.3 should show an understanding of the different sources of legislation and how different legislation and case law are applied in the court. Here you need to talk about the 3 rules: the literal rule, the golden rule, the mischief rule, and the purposive approach. Refer to slide 20 to 26, and as it is asking for illustration, you need to give examples of purposive approach and complete this task. Maximum 70 to 100 words. Then you need to analyze the structure of the criminal and civil courts, AC 3.1. You should explain the different courts, their structure, drawing the distinction between civil and criminal hierarchies and the legal roles of personnel within the civil and criminal courts. Here this diagram to discuss the structure of the courts. You can use it for your own country as well. Because of the analysis, you need to explain the structure of criminal and civil courts and how they deal with cases, because they're different, okay? And then you need to refer to slide 4 to 19.
4 to 19 on is it on learning outcomes 1?
It's learning outcome, yes, I think it is, or it's learning outcome. I'm gonna go, I think it's 3, okay? And then
Okay,
125 was, it might still be AC 3.1. So then you need to analyze the role of the judiciary and the judicial appointment process, and that's AC 3.2. So that's learning outcome 3.2, okay? You should explain how judges are appointed, the use of juries. Here you need to cover the role of the judiciary, and you need to
Can I refer to other things in the assignment, or just the slides?
I think just what it's asking you.
Okay.
Okay, and refer to slides learning outcome 3, 19 to 22. Okay. You may be able to expand on certain points a little bit more, you know.
Yeah.
Here you need to identify the role of the judiciary and how the appointment process works. Maximum words 7 to 100 words. Then analyze the function of the jury in criminal trials. AC 3.3. You should show a holistic understanding of criminal and civil process from the origin of the claim, offence, through to courts of appeal. Here you need to explain the function of the jury in a criminal trial. You need to take up case law example to explain the role of the jury in criminal trial. The case law should show that jury is to decide on guilt-based evidence and then provide a judgment. And the words is 70 to 100 words. Then you need to assess the duty and powers of the police, and that's AC 4.1. You should look at the role of the police and how it's linked to the Crown Prosecution Service. And we did a lot on that, so, you know, have a look through there. Here, assess means careful consideration of all factors. So you need to cover the duty and the powers of the police. Refer to slide 2 to 5. Specifically cover one of the powers of the police. So word limit 50 to 75. Assess the role of the Crown Prosecution Service, AC 4.2. Here you should explain the role of the police and how it links with the CPS. Here, assess means carefully consideration of all factors. You should cover the role of the CPS and refer to slide 6 to 10. Specifically cover the 5 roles of the CPS. And the word limit is 50 to 75 words. And then you need to examine the latest reforms to the civil justice process, AC 4.3. So you will look at the use of juries and show awareness of the latest reforms, the court and legal processes. You need to examine here the means, look in close details and establish the key facts and the important issues which have affected the civil justice process. You need to refer here to learning outcome 4, slides 11 to 14. Because it says examine, you need to read the handout on the Moodle for the civil justice system in a time of change and summarize the latest reform of 2019 in a few bullet points. Word limit of 70 to 100 words. For a merit, so this is extension work, okay? You must analyze.
Do I have to do the extension assignment, or can I just do that?
It's up to you. It's up to you if you want to do it. Analyze parliamentary and governmental efforts to widen access to the legal profession. You need to summarize the changes that government is doing to widen the access to the legal profession. You can also read the article that's linked there. You've got the legal profession reform proposal, and you've got the article there. You need to read and summarize this for achieving 3M1.
I should read the articles and summarize it.
Yeah. So these articles are there, the lawyers of the jurist, okay? So you need to go back to these articles and have a look at them. And you need to read them and summarize them for achieving 3M1. Compare and contrast the benefits and drawbacks of the different types of alternative dispute resolution. AC3M2. Here you need a table for the advantages and disadvantages of alternative dispute resolution. See the article. So there's another article by lawyers and jurists that you can go on in regards to advantages and disadvantages. Okay?
Yeah.
For a distinction, you need to analyze the tension between secondary legislation and the principle of separation of powers. That's ACD1. You need to see the handout on Moodle, separation of powers. You need to talk about the doctrine of separation of powers. So you need to go on to Moodle to look at the sources.
Okay.
You also need to look at referring to Learning Outcome 1, which is slides 36 to 41. You need to read the handout on Moodle on separation of powers and page 12 to 15 if you want to get a distinction. Okay. Analyze social, political and economic causes of miscarriages of justice, AC4D1. Here you need to discuss the changes in relation to miscarriages of justice. Use the case study for Guildford 4 and Maguire 7 to discuss the issues around miscarriages of justice. Word limit 80 to 100 words. You need to refer to the case study handout in Microsoft Word on Moodle. And this is a good link to read about more. So, you know, you've got the law teacher there on miscarriages of justice, and have a look at the 2 case studies. Task 2, case analysis. So that was for task 1. You are asked to prepare an analysis of a case and explain how judicial precedent works in the English courts. The case you need to analyse to refer to this is Alcock against Chief Constable of South Yorkshire Police 1992, which is a case related to the Hillsborough Stadium disaster in 1989. You can find the full facts of the case and the report on that link there, baileys.org UK cases. In your case analysis, you must explain the doctrine of judicial review, AC 2.1. You must distinguish between binding, non-binding and persuasive decisions, AC 2.2. And for a merit grade, you need to determine the ratio decidendi and the obiter dictum from Alcock and Chief Constable of South Yorkshire Police 1992. For Learning Outcome 2.1, 2.2, 2M1, you should analyse the given cases using it to illustrate the doctrine of judicial precedent and explain when decisions are binding, non-binding and persuasive. So you need to look at the hierarchy of the courts. You again need to refer to other cases, example Page and Smith, White and Chief Constable of South Yorkshire, McLaughlin and Bryan, 1983, to show how decisions may be applied. The ratio decidendi of the case should be determined, the issue of when psychiatric harm can be claimed, and the obiter dictum. So you need to look at these, okay, for task 2. Task 3 is a mooting exercise. Just 1 minute. So here in the mooting exercise is task 3. In preparation for a mooting exercise, you are asked to analyse the following scenario, applying relevant cases and statutory provisions. Harry Pollard is a delivery driver for a builder's merchants. When delivering to a large construction site, he witnessed the collapse and subsequent fire in a building in which several people were working. He witnessed the incident from the site office and was not close enough to be in any physical danger, but saw some horrific sights as people fell from the top of the building and were burnt in the fire. Pollard has been off work since the incident as making claim for psychiatric harm against the construction company. You must explain the importance of a bundle in mooting exercises, AC 5.1. You must analyse and apply relevant cases and statutory provisions to your scenario, which is Harry's scenario, yes?
Wait, so
AC
basically,
5.
I'm having a moot court for this case that's here.
Yeah, so you need to explain the importance of a bundle. You need to analyse and apply relevant cases and statutory provisions to the scenario. So Harry's scenario, which we looked at in the last learning outcome 5. Do you remember?
Yeah.
5.2, and you need to present the arguments for the parties involved in the given moot scenario, AC 5.3. So learning outcome 5 is AC 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3. You should explain what is contained in a bundle, all documents relevant to the case, and why is it important to allow participants to follow an argument. You should analyze a given scenario and consider relevant legislation, like the Health and Safety at Work Act, associated legislation, the duty of care owed and relevant cases. Example, Page and Smith, 1995, White and Chief Constable of South Yorkshire Police, 1999, McLaughlin and Bryan, 1983, McFarlane and E.E. Caledonian, 1993. Arguments should be presented clearly for each party and supported with relevant legislation and cases. All answers must be specifically related to the given scenario. So Harry's situation. For distinction grade, you must evaluate the claim and the defense based on the scenario. AC 5D1, refer to Learning Outcome 5, slides 14. Evaluation should cover the claim and suitable defense. Refer to Learning Outcome 5, slide 14. Here you need to take up one of the case examples. McFarlane against E.E. Caledonia, 1993. Alcock against Chief Constable for South Yorkshire. White and Chief Constable of South Yorkshire. Use one of the cases to show evaluation, discuss them, and the word limit 125 to 150 words. General guidelines for you. Useful tips. Read the tasks carefully. Focus on details. Focus on what they're asking you. Command verbs. Explain, define, describe, 70 to 100 words. Assess, examine, clarify, analyze, 100 to 125 words. Compare, contrast, critically analyze, 150 to 200 words. Use the Harvard system for referencing. Referencing needs to be the Harvard system, for example, the author and the date style. For example, Johnson and Woods 2011 in text. Full citation in the reference. Keep a check on the word count as well, it's important. Merit and distinction.
If they're saying the Harvard referencing, that means I should refer to other things except from the slides. Is that what that means?
Yeah, but sometimes in the slides there's references, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. So you could use them as well.
Okay.
Merit / distinction. Make sure there is sufficient evidence of critical analysis. Critique the arguments supported by the academic literature. Ensure that you include relevant theoretical models and examples. Use peer-reviewed journals for supporting or critique of the topic at hand. And at least 20 high-quality journal references. Avoid low-quality sources such as blogs. So plenary is referred to the ebooks and journals on Moodle for this unit. Any inquiries, kindly email learnerwork@ukvarsity.co.uk. Submission of assignment to be done on learnerwork@ukvarsity.co.uk. And assignment submission is after 2 weeks of completion of this unit and its delivery. Okay, so these are some of the stuff, and there's more to go through. So let me just go through the next bit. So here, can you see this? Legal methods unit. Yeah, so this is the tasks. So this is on Moodle as well. So it identifies what I've just gone through in the slides with you. What you need to produce. So task 1, you need to produce all them. Can you see them in your file notes? So distinguish between primary and secondary legislation. Explain the hierarchy.
I've already looked at this before on the Moodle site.
Okay. So it's quite clear, isn't it, that under each heading, when you're doing the work, put it under each heading. Okay, so you know what you're doing.
To ask something. On the Moodle site, there is a sample of the assignment. Should I do it exactly as they?
Is this the sample?
Yeah. This. Should I put like a all of all these things? Should I do exactly like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you how you do it, but you know, this is a sample for you to look at. That doesn't mean you have to copy everything from here. You need to do your own work. but maybe
I mean like the format. Like, should I do?
Yeah, maybe look at the structure. I mean, it's good whether like here where you have AC 1.2 explain the hierarchy. This is
Yeah,
good
exactly.
to have because it identifies that you are doing this for this area, and then it's good to have a heading for each one. And identify where this stops and then move on to the next one. So you can see AC 3.1.3 is explain the impact of the Human Rights Act. So, it is the right way to do it. But have a look through it. It's a good sample to use, and it identifies the 3 elements: literal, golden, mischief, rule, perp. And in this one, the person would have got merit if did they mention purposive? Maybe they've done it further down. But identify what you're going to do in each one. So when we go back to this, I mean,
if I do just the normal assignment, just the task, and I don't do any merit or distinction, will I still get my 30 marks?
Yeah, you will. Yeah, as long as you cover everything, and as long as you answer the question as it's asking you. So if you do task 1 and cover them bits and not the extension, merit, and distinction, you will get a pass then. Okay. So if you just aim for that, it's up to you. And then the case analysis, if you don't do the merit bit, then that's the pass bit at the top. And same with the task 3, task 1, 2, and 3. And this is just guidelines for you. Okay, which I know you've said you've had a look at already, which is really good. But it depends on what you want to do. Okay, so that is the sample one there. Okay, and I think in the sample one, I don't think they've covered the merit and distinction. I'm not sure.
No, they didn't. It's just
they have. Look, 3M1. They've covered a little bit on the merit ones. But it's up to you. It's advisable if you get it mainly done, and then if you want to do the extension ones, it's up to you to do them. Then we've got this unit here which tells you that under each learning outcome what you need to do. So to gain pass, you need to do like you were asking, 1.1 distinguish between primary, secondary, and delegated legislation. That's in learning outcome 1. Okay. 1.2, you need to explain the hierarchy within statutory sources of the case law. 1.3, explain the impact of the Human Rights Act. And then if you do want to get the distinction, you need to analyze the tension between secondary legislation and the principle of separation of powers.
If I want to get the distinction, I have to do the task, the merit, and the distinction.
Yes, you have to do the task and the merit and the distinction to get that. But if you just do the pass, then you will get the pass. Understand learning outcome 2, understand the principles of legal interpretation. 2.1, explain the doctrine of judicial precedent. Distinguish between binding, non-binding, and persuasive decisions. 2.3, illustrate the operation of literal, golden, and purposive rules of statutory interpretation. And then 2M1, determine the ratio decidendi and obiter dictum from a given legal case. And then learning outcome 3, understand the structure of the legal profession, the judiciary, the jury, and the magistrates. 3.1, analyze the structure of the criminal and civil courts. 3.2, analyze the role of the judiciary and the judicial appointment process. And then 3.3, analyze the function of the jury in criminal trials. And to get the 3M1, analyze parliamentary and governmental efforts to widen access to the legal profession. Learning outcome 4, understand the civil and criminal justice system and the alternative methods of dispute resolution. And 4.1 is to assess the duty and powers of the police, assess the role of the CPS, and examine the latest reforms to the civil justice process. And 4M1, compare and contrast the benefits and drawbacks of the different types of alternative dispute resolution. And 4D1, analyze social, political, and economic causes of miscarriages of justice. And then learning outcome 5, know how to use legal writing and mooting skills. And 5.1, explain the importance of the bundle in mooting exercises. analyze and apply the relevant cases and statutory provisions to a given scenario, present the arguments for the parties involved in given mooting, and 5D1, evaluate the claim and the defence based on the given area. Now it's up to you what you do, okay, and how you do it. So if you feel comfortable doing all the passes, then you will pass, as long as you answer the questions that it requires you. So when we go back to the assignment, you know, you need to produce file notes on all them areas. So it says distinguish between primary, secondary and delegated legislation. And then you need to explain the hierarchy within statutory sources and case law, impact of the Human Rights Act, literal golden purposive approach, the structure of the civil courts, analyse the role of the judiciary, analyse the function of juries in criminal trials, assess the duty and powers of the police, and assess the role of the CPS, and examine the latest reforms of. So that would get you a pass.
Yeah.
Okay. Then it's up to you whether you do the extensive additional work, and then you move on to task 2, which is you could use Bailey's in regards to find out about this case. So if you go onto that link should take you to Bailey's. Okay, that is the case report. Okay, on that case, which is the Constable of South Yorkshire Police and Alcock. This takes you to the full facts of the case. Okay, so you can read that. So there are links there that will take you to the case and help you as well. So, you know, that you'll be able to, you know, read things properly. So in this one, to get the pass, you need to explain the doctrine of judicial precedent. You need to distinguish between binding, non-binding and persuasive decisions. And then the merit one is look at the ratio decidendi and obiter dicta in the case of Alcock. And then task 3, the mooting exercise, you must explain the importance of the bundle in the exercises, which is learning outcome 5, analyze and apply the relevant cases and statutory provisions to the scenario, and then present the arguments for the parties involved. And then for the distinction, if you want to evaluate the case based on the given scenario. So this is there to give you guidance and support and how you need to demonstrate and what you need to answer. Okay, so this assignment, you know, it's for you to carefully look at when you're doing it. Like that sample assignment, it would be better if you had the headings. Okay, so it's clear for the reader, it's clear for someone marking it, and I think they have the expectation that you do it like that,
like the table of contents and all that.
Yes, and then, you know, like here, distinguish between primary, secondary and delegated legislation, and they put AC 1.1. So they've identified where it is, and they've identified that it's all, these ones are all to do with task 1. So you've got, then you go different types of delegated legislation, AC 1.2, look at the hierarchy of the statutory sources and case law, and identify them, and use the Harvard system for referencing, because that's the system that's used in regards to any assignments that's submitted on UK Varsity. Then explain AC 1.3, explain the impact of the Human Rights Act. So it helps the person doing it, but it also there's a structure for you to hand in your assignments with all the headings under it. Okay. And then you look at the analyze the structure of criminal courts. It's quite a good example for you to have a look at, and you know, it's a sample assignment for you to look at, and look at the function of jury in criminal trials, and then, you know, identify the duty of powers of the police, you know, pace code, and check your grammar as well, because that's really important, you know, your grammatical errors, and, you know, your structures in your assignment, and, you know, how you write, your style of writing, things like that. So, you know, and make sure you reference everything, it's so important. And then a reference list at the end of bibliography. I think they have probably got a bibliography at the end. Oh yes, look, they have a reference list at the end, in chronological order and in alphabetical order. So the reference list is there, where all the sources are, which you could get whilst doing the research. Okay, Have you got any questions in regard to this assignment now?
No, I'm good.
Are you sure? If you have
Yeah.
any questions, just email LearnerWorks and they will send me an email. But if you have any issues, just ask
I
me.
should email who?
The LearnerWork. But I
Okay.
think going through it, I think you have a good idea of what you're doing, yes?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So if you have any issues, just email LearnerWorks, but try and get on with it. Start doing it and try doing all the past ones first. So it makes you, if you're comfortable, then
I have a question. Where should I submit it?
It's to the LearnerWork. So I'll go back on here and I'll show you where you submit it.
Okay.
Just 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute, I'll find it for you. Legal methods. So the assignment guidance is there. So on here. So can you see this now? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, look, can you see this?
Yeah, I can see this.
Yeah, it says, if you've got any queries, any questions, email learnerwork@ukvarsity.co.uk. And then submission of your assignment must be done on learnerwork@ukvarsity.co.uk.
Okay.
Do you want me to put that in the chat for you, that address?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, just 1 minute, I'll just copy that. And then I can just put it in the chat for you so you've got a better idea of where you need to submit it. Let's have a look. See if you've got it in the chat. Have you got it in the chat now? So learnerwork@ukvarsity.co.uk. So have you got any other questions before we finish off this session? Because this is your last session now, so you need to start getting on with the assignment and start working around doing that and then submitting it 2 weeks after.
Yeah, but like after this, I still have other classes, right?
You will. I don't know what sessions you've done. I don't know what sessions you will have. You may have to speak to Raman about that.
Okay.
But I don't know what sessions you have. A lot of your stuff, everything is on Moodle for you to look at, all your additional sources. So please refer to them, and your assignment and the sample assignment is all on Moodle for you to look at. Okay. Have you got any other questions before we finish off?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, Olu. Nice to teach you, Olu, and take care. Look after yourself. Okay. Thank you. Bye.